Bart's Nightmare is one of the oldest video games based on The Simpsons, being released in 1992 when the show was in its fourth season. Now, one would expect a game based on such a popular franchise to be good, or at least halfway playable, but to paraphrase Homer, it was the suckiest bunch of suck to ever suck.
Bart's Nightmare is more the player's nightmare. Between the confusing instructions and the unfair, nearly incompletable levels, this feels like one of Otto's many drug trips.
The game's basic premise, from what we can tell, is that Bart suddenly cares about his homework, very un-Bart of him, and falls asleep doing it. In his dream, he loses all the pages of the work, and you have to spend the game getting all 8 back. You won't, but you can try.
After Bart attempts suicide by jumping out his window, you land in a psychedelic, tripped-out version of Springfield where you can find various pages of his homework. You have to attain them by jumping on them, and you have to be very annoyingly precise, but more on that in a little bit.
In this LSD-fueled trip to Springfield, there are tons of random, bizarre things going on that put the nightmare in Bart's nightmare. Mailboxes, basketballs, and severed Jebediah Springfield heads all attack you, and sometimes it's nearly impossible to see them coming because the trees block your vision. Take a shot every time something extremely unfair like this happens, and you'll need a new liver in the next minute or so.
Sometimes jumping over some of the things that attack you will give you rewards, such as watermelons. You can spit out the watermelon seeds and use them as weapons, but you won't, so that's a pretty pointless addition to the game. You can also get a skateboard which just speeds until you crash into something and skid on your yellow ass. Fun.
Also, found in this level are Elisa, who can turn you into a frog. Again, this serves no real purpose in the game, so it's kind of baffling as to why they put it in there in the first place.
It's also baffling as to why this game exists in general. I mean, it kind of slows you down a little. I guess she just wanted to be a jerk.
Tear me apart, Lisa!
This can be cured by approaching some old lady who will kiss you because that's what you're questioning out of everything that's happened so far.
By the way, we're only on the first level. The last prominent entity you'll see a lot of early on is Principal Skinner, who will try to put a suit on you that slows you down but makes you invincible. I would comment on this, but I'm still concerned as to why Skinner thinks it's okay to undress a small child he's not related to in the middle of the street.
Skinner!
After you eventually jump on one of the pages, the game will take you to one of its 5 mini-games.
Bartzilla is probably the most annoying one of the 5. There's no strategy, it's just button mashing and praying like Flanders something works out.
You just spit fire at these tanks and helicopters that are shooting at you and try to progress as far as you can in the level. There's no indication of how far you are, and whenever you shoot, it slows you down.
This is especially annoying because some of the tanks and helicopters don't shoot at you, and you have to randomly guess which ones are worth wasting your time on and which aren't. The correct answer is none of them are worth your time, because you'll die in a few seconds anyway, and in the game too.
After you lose a minigame, it cuts back to Bart, asleep and snoring in such a weird way that I don't even have a joke for it. And it shows that you've collected no pages! What the hell? I got over 4,000 points! That should be worth like at least half a damn page or something.
There isn't much to talk about for the next minigame, which takes you into Bart's blood. You essentially have to blow up these snot things, which is really morbid by the way. Just look at how sad they look.
After a few turns of this game, neither of us had any idea what the hell we were supposed to do, so we looked online for the objective of the minigame. Apparently you have to collect atoms or some crap, but they never really specify what or where the atoms are, so whatever. You die about 30 seconds into this one no matter what, so it really does not matter.
Indiana Bart is the next game, which is fairly straightforward, at least when compared to the previous two. You jump across these pillars and collect dinosaur eggs, insert fertility joke here. And sometimes the mother pterodactyl will come out with no warning and kill you.
And we mean no warning. You have no way to dodge the thing, you don't know when or where it'll come, and if it comes the game is more or less over. Again, just another highly unfair game mechanic. The only fun part of this is the sound Bart makes when he falls down.
The next minigame puts you in the shoes of Bartman, where you fly through the sky and have to avoid missiles that, surprise surprise, give you no warning of when or where they'll come, and no way for you to avoid them once they're there.
You'll also run into various characters from the series, such as Sherry, Terry, Barney, and green-haired It's Not a Phase Mom Smithers. The main problem with this minigame is that there's way too much going on at once. There are missiles, balloons, storm clouds, bosses, and a poo-pooing beer bottles just like he does in the show, right? Wow, this is very true to the source material.
Much like Nelson on a random parasail, who isn't really doing anything wrong, but you have to kill multiple times anyway.
Also, you can't face or shoot backwards for some reason, which makes things needlessly complicated. We almost won the damn thing, but all the hits we took while enemies were behind us caused way too much damage. If it weren't for those flaws, this minigame could have actually been pretty fun. The final minigame is by far the most fun, and honestly, the game should have just been this. Bart is transported into an Itchy and Scratchy cartoon that takes place in his house for some reason, and you just have to grab a mallet and smash the cat and mouse duo before they smash you.
The one gripe with this level is that eventually Itchy and Scratchy pull out a cannon and flamethrower, which are really hard to avoid and drain one of your 3 lives with just one hit. Otherwise, this was the most entertaining part. The biggest problem with this level is that it eventually ends. It was great.
If you lose, which you will, Bart ends up failing his assignment and the whole family hates you. This is really confusing. How would collecting all the pages while still in the nightmare help anything? You'd still be asleep.
Anyways, the game ends with Homer, Marge, and Lisa giving you angry glares if you fail, while Maggie just looks off into the distance with dead eyes. Why is Lisa mad at you? How does this affect her in any way? Isn't she used to being the higher achieving sibling by now?
If it was in the hands of the right people, Bart's Nightmare could have been a much better game. Some of the levels, such as Bartman or Itchy and Scratchy, show lots of potential for what could have been, but sadly weren't.
Some random other gripes we have are... the music. It's just really damn creepy and plays on an endless loop for the whole game, save for the minigames. It just sounds very off-putting and doesn't really set the mood for The Simpsons at all.
They tried way too hard to make the game challenging, and it just ended up being complicated, impossible, and stupid. All in all, just a big headache and not the game The Simpsons deserved.
The HP bar in the main Springfield area is about as easy to read as a script to Sausage Party. There's no indication of how much damage a certain obstacle will do to you, and only after a few playthroughs do you start to kind of get the hang of it. We don't really have anything left to say about the game, so
B-movie.